Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Pipe Wrench, and by Junk Be Gone, and by the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's edition of the Sports Source. We appreciate you being with us every Sunday. Thanks to those of you last week. We got a late start due to the Formula One race that was on before us. Ratings were just as good as it was always, which concerned me when I had to watch 10 minutes of people playing national anthems of France and the Netherlands. I wondered, how many people are going to stick through this? And you did, and I appreciate that very much. You're the most loyal audience in Knoxville. I can't say thanks enough. We got a packed show for you today. This is your reward. We're going to talk about a thrilling reaction to a thrilling Vol baseball win, reaction to a confounding Lady Vol softball loss. Josiah Jordan-James is back. We're going to talk about what is now a top 5 roster, number 5 in the nation according to ESPN's early preseason rankings in basketball. We're going to talk about the SEC schedule and the fact that they kicked the can down the road. Jimmy Himes was down there in Destin. We'll talk with him about that. We'll also talk about Tennessee football. I had someone this week ask me, why do you guys worry so much about the schedule? Well, we're going to show you. We're going to take a look today at if Tennessee goes 11-1, and it's like last year, they're right there on that cusp of 4th, 5th, 6th. Do they get the playoff bid? We're going to compare their schedule to 7 or 8 other teams around the country. If they win 11-1, Tennessee win 11-1, who'd get the bid? We'll see if schedule matters. All that today on the Sports Source. Let's dive right into this thing. First segment of our show brought to you by Junk Be Gone. If you're like me, when you've lived in a home for several years, things just sort of accumulate. It's like, where did that lamp come from? I haven't used that table in years, etc., etc. Call Junk Be Gone, folks. Either you can load up that stuff in a driveway dumpster and they haul it off, or they come in, pick it up, put it in the dumpster themselves, and they haul it off for you that way. Either way, they haul it off. Junk Be Gone, it's a great company. They'll take care of you. They always do for me. junkbegone.biz to learn more. All right, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists right down here. Longtime media member Chuck Cavaleris back with us again today. Chuck, thank you for being here.
Great to be here, John.
And next to you, longtime media member Jimmy Himes. Jimmy, thanks for being here. Back from Destin. Appreciate you coming in. Mm-hmm. Right here, Marlon Wallace, former Vol football player. Always good to have you. Married to a former Vol softball player. So we'll get your take here in a second. All right. Right there we have current media member. Vince Ferrara, of course, is with the 99.1 The Sports Animal, does Sports Talk 6 to 9 every single Monday through Friday. Vince, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
All right. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, football, basketball, SEC, as I said, but let's start with 2 teams that are battling for national titles. And we'll begin with the winning side. Vince, you're a member of the Vol broadcast team. Last night, number 2 seed Tennessee wins in 14 innings versus the number 1 seed Clemson's hosting that thing, but they are in the winner's bracket awaiting the winner. They'll play tonight, the winner of Clemson or Charlotte, both teams who Tennessee has beaten. Your thoughts on the comeback that got them into extra innings and then actually, we don't have time for that. Comeback to get in the extra innings, the win last night. Give me a brief summary of the excitement there, but talk about where they stand right now in terms of the rest of this regional.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Incredible. It looked bleak for a long time in that game, and Tennessee needed a rally. Down to their final strike twice, Blake Burke singled, where their starter, Caden Grice, was phenomenal. He was 1 strike away from a complete game, and it was over. But then Tennessee was able to get that runner on and then get a 3-run homer from Zane Denton down to their final strike again to take a 5-4 lead, lost the lead, extra innings, goes all the way to the 14th, surviving, bases loaded, nobody out, and able to survive and then get the game-winning hit from a guy that was like 1 for his last 18 or so.
19, 1 for his last 19.
Yeah, and just incredible. So they only used 3 pitchers to get there. Just a phenomenal team win.
For a team that had been struggling on the road for most of the season, you think they get over the hump when they go and finish the season with a series win at South Carolina. They go to Hoover and they're out in 1 game, don't even score. Yeah. So you're wondering what this team's going to do. Now they're in the catbird seat in terms of what's going on in this regional, and it's shaping up nicely. If they get out of this regional, don't want to jump too far ahead, it's shaping up nicely. They could be hosting back here in Knoxville against a surprise team.
Well, which would be crazy because when they got the 2 seed, you're like, oh, there goes a chance for hosting a super regional. Tennessee would have to get beaten twice in the regional in order to not advance to the supers. Like you said, the winner of Clemson and Charlotte would be Tennessee's opponent tonight at 6 o'clock. They'd have to beat Tennessee today and tomorrow for an if necessary game. So Tennessee's in a great position. Tennessee's pitching depth was a difference. One of the differences against Clemson, it will be for anybody else that probably doesn't have the pitching. And the Auburn region has had an upset with Auburn going down the number 1 seed. And that shows you it's all about a reset in the postseason.
Yeah.
They were the hottest team in the SEC, and they went 2 in barbecue in their own regional. So,
So it's Penn versus Southern Miss in that one.
right.
If it's Tennessee and Southern Miss, they're both 2 seeds, so the NCAA would decide who gets the super regional. But if it's Penn,
Right.
Penn's coming to Knoxville.
For sure. If it's a 3 or 4 seed, Sanford or Penn, then it would definitely be Tennessee hosting. If it's Southern Miss, I think it's a little bit TBD.
Jimmy, this team has been, I use the word confounding about a loss. This Tennessee team's been kind of confounding this year.
Yeah.
We knew they have the talent, but how are they going to do on the road? Where they're sitting now, you starting to feel a little bit more confident about their chances moving forward or no?
Yes, I am. They still have the ability with the pitching staff. They haven't pitched as well as a year ago, but they still have quality pitchers. Clemson used 10 pitchers last night, right? And they kept going through it, but I thought it was a huge win for Tennessee. They showed a lot of resiliency to be able to win in that situation. I sent out a text last night about Tennessee's win and it got 8,000 views. I'm like, I can't remember the last time a Tennessee baseball win got that many views on Twitter. But I thought it was huge. Gives them some momentum, some confidence, and I think they're a dangerous team right now.
All right, let's move on to softball. The Lady Vols ran into a buzzsaw, probably the number 1, the preeminent program in women's softball going these days. Oklahoma, they won 50 straight games. It was against you yesterday. They're soon going to come to the SEC. That's going to be tough. But the Lady Vols, Chuck, you called me during the game. It's like, what is Karen Weekly doing? She didn't go with either of her 2 aces. In terms of the pitching staff going against Oklahoma. She came out afterwards and explained that, well, we had done this against Florida early in the year. She didn't say it, but it's kind of that Tampa Bay Devil Rays approach of everybody gets 2 innings. Nobody's ever going to see anybody for more than a couple of at-bats. Your thoughts on the loss, 9-0 loss yesterday at Oklahoma? It puts them in the loser's bracket. They now have Oklahoma State tonight at 7. So you get baseball at 6, you got softball at 7. They got Oklahoma State. It's an elimination game. Your thoughts on the strategy?
Well, I tell you what, if it had been a boxing match, it's almost like Tennessee threw in the towel from the corner before it even started. It was very perplexing not to at least put one of your 2 aces out there and see what they do and then make a change. The only nugget I saw, guys, Oklahoma was only hitting .214 against pitches of 70 miles an hour or more. And that's why you went with Pickens, because she can hit 74. But she had a great first half, not nearly as good second half, really erratic. And the 3-run home run, I would question that. Karen Weekly calls the pitches. She called back-to-back changeups to one of the best home run hitters in Oklahoma history. That was a 3-run homer that put them on top. Oklahoma scores 3, it's just like 6.
Wow, passionate Lady Vols softball coverage from Chuck Cavaleris. You dealt with some passionate Lady Vols watching yesterday. Your thoughts on the strategy?
I'm glad baseball was able to throw a little water on it and kind of cool us down. But for most of you that don't know, my wife is softball with Lady Vols, and so they had a group chat going, man. It's probably still going. The biggest thing was I understood throwing out the first pitcher with her speed, but at that point it was 3-0, and she had started to cool off a little bit. We felt like she should have gone with Gacho or somebody like that. That's a little bit more experienced. It was for me. It was honestly, I felt like Karen was saying, "Hey, you know what? We ain't gonna win this game anyways. Let's save our pitchers for tomorrow and give ourselves a shot to win versus Oklahoma State going forward." But it wasn't. As a softball fan, it wasn't very good to watch that one yesterday.
The issue you've now got. I mean, if you were saying, all right, we'll worry about them later in the championship round if we get there. You've now got to win all these games. There is no other mistake. So you got to work your way back to that championship round, and more than likely, they've won 50 straight. The odds of Oklahoma coming into that championship with a loss are low. So they're going to have to beat them twice to win the thing. So tough road to hoe for the Lady Vols in the softball. But you got softball; they're still alive. Baseball looking good right now. We'll see if we're still saying these same things next Sunday when we're breaking this down. Gentlemen, thank you very much for that. We got to move on. We got like I said, it's a packed show. Next, when we come back, the SEC decided to punt on the scheduling plan. How does that impact Tennessee? But here's the other stuff that's coming up. Tennessee's slate and the playoff hopes, as I mentioned as we started. We're going to take a look at that. How would they compare against other schemes? They're going to get an 8-game schedule. It's a breakdown. They're going to do a stopgap schedule next year. So if you've got a schedule and you're already looking at, okay, Tennessee gets so-and-so on the rotation, throw it away. You don't know who they're going to get. So we'll tell you what the best case scenario would be for Tennessee for 2024 in terms of interest. Loaded hoops roster. Is this going to be the most pressure ever on Barnes since he's arrived on Rocky Top? All that coming up. And then, as I said, next, we're going to talk about the SEC schedule punt and the kick to the teeth that Greg Sankey's been taking from a lot of the media since then. So come on back on the Sports Source.